Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you may be, and welcome to Root Connections Truth and Revelations, episode 7. Woo! Wherever you're watching this from, please comment below if any of this resonates. Please subscribe, follow, share, get the word out there. You might be watching this from 2030, and all the things that we're talking about have come to pass, and you're looking back on this thinking, they were right. They warned us. They told us. If that's the case, comment below. I'm joined today, as always, by Jackie Robinson.
Hello,
And
everybody.
Andi as well is with us, a very interesting, very insightful gentleman that's going to be talking about quite a few things today. So, what are we doing today, Jackie? What are we up to?
Right. So, as always, we kick off with everything that's topical that's happened this week. I don't know about you, but everything's fast forwarding so quick
So
and so
quick.
much is happening. I can hardly keep up. So, I'm going to keep it to the real topical truth and revelations. What happened with the Archbishop of Canterbury, the head
A
of
big
Church
one.
of England?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. He has resigned. Why has he resigned? He has resigned because he has admitted to covering up one of his bishops, let's just say, paedophilia. And, we call this a one off. This is not a one off.
Oh, God.
This has been happening in churches around the world
Mm.
and more topically in the UK. Andi, what do you think about this?
He's been busted.
Yeah.
That's as
Yes,
simple as it
yes.
gets.
Finally.
This rabbit hole runs very, very deeply in all, not just the churches. I think they've got some representatives in the House of Lords. There's about 20 representatives that they are obviously potentially going to be ousted, but we don't know that yet. But yeah, I think this runs deep, and this runs back not tens of years, but probably hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Um, so it's just further exposing another institution. There's many institutions that are wrapped up in all this, but it's a good thing. It's exposing things, which is how it should be, and I think justice will prevail on all this.
Well,
So
it's kind of like become a cultural, acceptable thing in a particular culture, if you like. There's all sorts goes off in the media, and it's
Mhm.
it's something that's happened, like you said, for not just decades, for like hundreds of years in these different pockets of our society, and it's about time that we uncovered it and said no more because it's our kids that are suffering, and it's
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely vile.
And the reason why we do this, truth and revelations, why we do what we do, all of us here, is that we do it for our kids.
mm,
We do it for our kids and the next generation.
Yeah.
And every single person needs to stand up now and say, no, not anymore. This can't happen. And I feel that is happening and it's exciting. It's not nice to hear what's happened, but we've been awakened for a few years now. So, it's not a shock to us. We're just relieved, aren't we, that it's finally, the can of worms. It's opening. It's you know, so much more is going to come, so much more. And, we need to keep our eyes. I've started watching the news again, and I stopped in 2020, but I've started watching it again because nothing can touch me anymore. Nothing. And so I can watch it and analyze it and use my intuition. And we've got our pineal glands totally open now.
yeah,
And I mention that all the time, because it's so important, isn't it, to have that clear so you know what's true and what is not. Next question, still on the same topic, religion versus spirituality.
Oh, this is interesting.
mm.
Yeah, Andi.
It is a good one because over the period that we'll call it the C period, which was over the 2020 era. Um, I was searching for truth, and it I had to rely on other truthers, other people that I sort of hung around and sort of warmed to because of what they were saying, really. That was me searching for truth, and that passed me over to the spiritual side. Sort of religion has been infiltrated. So there is the spiritual side, but religion has been infiltrated. If you're going back many hundreds of years, and this is sort of a war between paganism and you know the cult that is that still exists to this day, and it's a spiritual battle at the moment. So for me, go on, just repeat the question again. I just want to get back on track to where I was tracking into something else then, and I want to get back.
No, it's about religion versus spirituality. Not that one's better than the other,
Yeah.
but kind of the differences between the two. But you can have both. Yeah.
Yeah, you can have both, and I think there is crossover with it. Since that C period, I've hung out with people that are not necessarily believers in God, but they're very spiritual. But I think there is crossover. It's every person that was like-minded to me over that period, always had something in common with me, and that was either a belief in God, but more so at the time, spirituality.
Yes.
Of believing in a better way.
Yeah.
But I think I'm finding more and more now that, and this is where I'm getting in depth on the research and stuff, is the Holy Bible is not just one religion. I've looked at, even had Jehovah's Witnesses at the house the other day, 2 years ago, and I kicked them down the road. But I actually said, come back and come in for a brew. I want to learn about different religions.
Yeah, and why it started, how it started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My uncle was rest in peace. He's died a few years back now, but he was a Catholic priest, and I learned a lot from him, really. But he was very open to my interpretation of it. I didn't want to go to church and sort of regurgitate the same stuff for an hour and then go away and be completely the opposite as a person. And the values were, people just, I think it almost makes people feel better that they've gone to church, but they don't practice that 7 days a week. They don't think about it daily. So I think, for me, it was interesting to have my uncle as a priest, and I got into that side, and then I started researching. There was something not right. The reason why I had to come away from the Catholic Church was something didn't feel right.
Yeah.
And then you start researching, you start seeing things like, well, the Bible was changed in probably 1300s at the, I think it was the Council of Nicaea. So you look at things like that and you think, I need to dig on this. I need to dig more to find where my truth is on it. So it's interesting, but it's very open to interpretation. That's the best I can put it right here, right now. But I've got some very, very interesting stuff on the religious side, which is mind-blowing. Which
I think we need to have you on for a separate podcast for that one.
The good thing is I've got references that people can, go to and make their own mind up. But the biblical timelines now, when they say history repeats itself, we are literally going through the same timeline that happened 2,000 years ago. The timelines are mind-blowing. And we need a day on it, Jackie. And I'd sit you down with it and it'd just blow your mind. Paulie, you'd love it.
That'd be a workshop for me. I want to come to this workshop, guys.
Let's do a workshop. Let's get it sorted.
I did theology and ethics at college, and because I've always been interested in religion and how there can be so much conflict in it when we all preach love and kindness, and there wasn't that much around, and there still isn't in some ways. And I think when you zoom out from an individual, it's seeing that bigger influence and the conditioning around that. So you just said something interesting about the Jehovah's Witness. I've got Jehovah's Witness friends that have actually been removed from the community for very minor things, in my opinion, but in the community, they're major. You would have kicked them down the street because you weren't interested in what they had to say. And I think we're conditioned to, if you think that way, don't even look that way and don't
Yeah.
ask questions.
Mm.
And I think that
And
is
it's
the
wrong. They're
problem.
saying it's wrong, aren't
Because,
they?
yeah, we've got to have the acceptance of every kind of cultural belief and
Yeah.
every part of it, because
Yeah.
it can all fit together. Look at what we do, Jackie, with our holistics. We all do different modalities and we all provide that
Yeah.
service and we all provide
Yeah.
change and absolute transformation. But we don't say you can only do this one. We say
Yeah.
it's not one size fits all. Let's accept everybody and let's go with what works for you. And that's how I think it should be. And I know it's not.
Yeah.
No, it's absolutely right, because the whole point of what's happened is we were losing control, losing our freedoms, and that's what really got me. And I feel that in a lot of religions, you lose your freedom to think. You must think this way and only this way. And just what you said, Paula, was that we need to learn from all religions and all cultures. And my life, because I worked abroad for 20 years, was that I was, loved learning about religions and their culture. Why was that religion? How was that started? It was because of their culture and what they needed, and it really helps them. And going back to paganism, what you mentioned, Andy,
Yeah.
because obviously that was the first form of religion. And this goes back to our title, No Such Thing as a Coincidence.
Yeah.
Is that I was born into Church of England church, but as I went traveling and I learnt all these different religions, and I thought, well, they can't all be wrong and they can't all be right.
Yeah.
So I thought I'm just
Yeah.
going to take a little bit out of each of
Yes.
them. And
Yeah.
when it came to Zach being born, my son, I wanted to do something for him, but it didn't want traditional christening. It didn't feel right. And I pondered over it for a while. And then my friend said, well, why don't you have a pagan naming ceremony? I said, well, I'm not a pagan. And he said, but you believe in all these things which are relative to paganism. I said, oh, that's true. And as I looked into it, I thought, oh my goodness, yeah, I'm giving my son the authority to choose himself. I will take him to these countries. I will show him the religions and everything, and he will choose himself.
Yeah.
And so paganism, the original religion, and that's where it's all branched off, isn't it? And you know a lot about this, Paula.
I love this subject because my son, when he was about seven, my eldest is nearly 18 now, but when he was about 7 or 8, I, with my spiritual journey, I won't go into it, but where it started, my interest when I lost my mum 13 years ago, I went into Wicca and I researched Wicca as a religion, because that is a religion as well. And I
Yeah.
was so interested in it. There's so many deities, there's so many goddesses and gods and all sorts. And he was asked at school once to talk about God. And he said, well, which one? Because there's a few. And he got told off, he got reprimanded for it. And I thought, no, I mean,
Wow. Yeah.
as a base for those conversations we should be having, especially to children, there are potentially millions of gods, or there's just one, or whatever. To shut him down. Then I
Yeah.
thought
Yeah.
it was
So
really.
Paula, obviously with you've been into that field. Have you heard of the I call it a big G for the one God and a
Yeah.
small G for the pagan gods.
Yeah.
So have you heard of the small god Ishtar?
Yes.
So that was a pagan god. And have you read the background on that?
I don't think so. Tell us,
That
Andy.
Ishtar, she dressed men and women. She dressed men as women and women as men. She had some of the priesthoods surgically transitioned. She
Mm.
oversaw and initiated parades that were called, they used to call it Pride. This is 2,000 years ago.
Wow.
No way.
Symbol,
Wow.
and the symbol was a rainbow.
No way. No way.
So this is
Nothing
the
is
biblical
coincidence.
context I'm trying to dig up now, and it's an
Incredible.
amazing guide.
Oh,
Now,
we need to do a workshop on this, like Paula said.
it's
There's
phenomenal.
so much.
I need people. It's something I'm just discovering on my own now, and I'm listening to it. I'm getting more and more into it, but I want other people to be involved in it because he's massive. This guy is called Jonathan Kahn, and he's not just someone. So it's Jonathan, Cahn.
Cahn. Okay.
So
I'm
this
gonna look him up
guy,
now.
it blows my mind because he was someone that has supposedly has prophetic word. Now, there's people on YouTube and all over the place that so-called have this prophetic word from God.
Yeah.
Some of them I take with a pinch of salt. I think some people are just after viewership and getting paid off it.
Yeah.
There are genuine ones, and you just go within and just feel it from the heart. And with Jonathan Kahn as one example, he basically ended up in Cuba. There was like a ban on preaching, and Fidel Castro gave 1 month grace where they could preach. He was the one that was designated to be the preacher for that month, and he didn't. And he had this prophetic insight that he was going to meet Fidel Castro, but he didn't know when, he didn't know where. Anyway, it ended up happening, and he went to the presidential palace, and he gave him a Spanish Bible, which was banned in Cuba. He gave him a shofar, which is the horn, the biblical horn, which is symbolic for a lot of things. And he also gave him a prophetic note saying that when Fidel Castro would end his term. And he said, I didn't predict the day, I didn't predict the year, I didn't predict the month, I didn't predict the day, I give him the hour he would be removed. And this guy has also met Netanyahu in Israel and gave him prophetic words. And then 2 weeks before the election, he was preaching to Donald Trump. And he was, this guy is like, it's all on, I've got all the links, I screen record things and stuff, but.
So he's still alive then, obviously.
Oh, I listen to him all the time. It's like, he looks at biblical timelines. There's another guy called Bo. I'll put all the links. There's so much
put it in the link so people can research themselves. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Because I'd like other people's. I'm not saying what I'm saying is right. I want to put something out there so people can do their own research.
This is exactly what it should all be about. Everything should be laid out in truth, and you make your own revelations as to what resonates with you. And that's been my spiritual journey all along. I've tapped into so many different things, and it's interesting that you just said, Andi, about going within and then making your own judgment on those YouTube people as well. That's something that we have lost touch with purposely. I believe. I think that's meant to have happened. That's been in the big design of whoever is orchestrating.
Do you know who said this perfectly? And I don't necessarily, loads of people won't like him. I stay on the fence with him. But he was one of the original, conspiracy theories. Is David Icke, and he always says,
I love David Icke.
Yeah, but some people, don't have a point to him.
Yeah. Some of it can be quite heavy if you're quite new to it, but yeah.
Well, he always said that he always takes judgment from his heart, not his head.
Yes.
Now, that's just logical, that if you look at it, because if you're in a position where you're going to upset someone, your head will tell you, don't say anything.
Yeah.
Your heart will go, you need to
speak the truth.
This will help them.
And it's that connection that we lost, really.
Absolutely. This is incredible, and we will return with more podcasts on this, maybe a workshop. We need to chat after this, guys. And there'll be more about this, because this is hugely important to how we make decisions in our lives, how we live in our lives. And people should be aware of history around this. It's
100%.
Andi.
And it's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, Paula, on this, you've got I presume you're into the holistic side as well, Paula, yeah? Jackie's all over it like a rash.
Yes.
She's
getting rid of the rashes. That's what the point is.
The rashes are gone.
But the thing is, if you wanted to discredit Jackie for what she does, you'd have that debate, you'd talk about it. But over that C period, I didn't want to. None of my family got that.
Mine neither.
But I started to try and import ivermectin.
Yeah.
And the arguments in social media was like, is it peer reviewed? And I'm like, I didn't even know what is peer reviewed.
Yeah.
Oh, right, it's a study. Right. Yeah, it's FDA approved. So
Yeah.
it's already been approved as a drug since the 70s.
Yes.
And then I had to come off social media because I'm thinking, I'm trying to help here. I don't want that they're suggesting that I take. So I want an alternative. But that was banned from being imported. I didn't even receive the goods. I did the first one. Second lot I didn't receive. And I just think to myself, you could discredit that drug straight away by going, right, come on, let's have a debate on it.
Yeah.
Let's look at it and let's see whether it works or it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And it's that fact that the blocking that movement of people that went down the holistic side, it's that blocking that makes you think, why are they blocking it?
Yes.
I know why they're blocking it. I know exactly
we
why.
all know why they're blocking it.
But the majority don't.
No, that's it. I mean, in this room, yeah.
I don't know about you now, but when you see something in the media or something in all our alternative medias that we might use, and it's not reported in mainstream, I look closer at those things because that is where the real truth lies for me. And if this seems foreign to anyone that's watching, get in touch with us because we can point you in the direction of where to do your research as well.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I don't know why I've got onto poetry, right, and stuff. And this is not the poem I mentioned before, but I once wrote some words, and it was so we went on rallies. We went on rallies in Blackburn and London and stuff like that. Took my kids on it. It was good. And there was one guy, and I wrote a piece on this jab and tried to put it into a way people could understand. So I sort of related it to a yellow car. I used to have a bright yellow car. And once you buy a bright yellow car, you notice all the other bright yellow cars.
Yes.
So that I was trying to put it across that way. He ended up reading it out as a speech in Blackburn Square.
Oh, wow.
Basically, what I was trying to get at is when you notice something and when it's brought to your attention, then you then start noticing it. So I set up a channel. I set up loads of channels on Telegram. I went on X. I do one on X called COVID Sport. I'm not after followers or anything like that. Don't give it. All I'm doing is recording.
No, say it again. What is it called?
COVID Sport 888. I get quite a bit bullshit on there, like sometimes. But what that started off being is recording all the sports people that were collapsing on the pitch. So, I carried that on, and then another coincidence was I started talking to a truther in Canada called Chris Sky. That was quite in the period of time that we're talking about. He was quite aggressive on trying to defeat the system with it, and he was having an interview with Matt Letizia. Next minute, I said, "Oh, give Matt my number. I need to speak to him about it." And I didn't know Matt Letizia at all. Next minute, "Hi, it's Matt Letizia here," and we're getting a off in. So he was doing the same thing. He was sort of getting in touch with the FA, and he was doing really good work. So coincidentally, we came across paths because of that. But it was, I just think, once people understand that, you might not see it as much now, but in the heyday, with people dropping after they got the jab,
it'd break my heart. See it, you would see it. Oh gosh!
And all I was reporting on was the football in the professional football.
Yeah.
Right. If I got into the amateur football and kids football and school football globally, I've been doing it all day long because it was just massive. And all around me now, all I say to people is, just observe this. How many people around you? We know quite a few, Jackie, don't we? On a personal level, the guitarist in my band was had two of them quadruple heart bypass. So myocarditis, pericarditis, blood clots, all sorts of things. People having irregular heartbeats, all sorts of things that,
Tumours.
Tumours,
Brain tumours particularly.
turbo cancers, all these are listed as side effects on the well, I forget which one it is, whether it's the one beginning with P now or the one beginning with A, but they're listed as side effects. So is that a coincidence? I don't think so. And it's like, this is what I'm trying to get across to people now, because it's still going to happen, because we don't know the effects of it 5 years down the road, do we? So
what I want to do though is also sorry, Jackie, reassure people,
carry on.
Well, this is where I'm going to say to you, Jackie, tell us, because I want people to, when they're watching this, these might be quite new ideas to you. Remember, when we move in the circles that we do, it's an everyday conversation that we have. But for people watching this, it might be quite new and very, very scary. And what I would say is these ways to counter what you might have been through, whether that's physically or mentally. Now, Jackie, I know that you've been talking about detox this week. You've had a lot of things. What would you recommend if people are physically worried about the things that have happened in the past?
I would suggest, and this is the reason why I set up the detox program, apart from the fact that I wanted to detox myself. And I thought I'd have to be accountable if I go live. It always works. So I never had the old in the arm, but I know lots of my friends and family, all my family, with the exception of Zach. And, some people are starting to waken up to realize that it might not have been a good thing.
Yeah.
So you now have toxins in your body. We all have toxins in our body, even if we didn't have the jab, we all have them in our body. The reason we have them in our body, because it's everywhere. It's in your water, it's in your toothpaste, it's in the sky, it's in your soil, it's in the food. So, but if you've had the added thing of the vaccine, sorry, did I use the word? Then you need to detox. And so I set up this program for free so that people literally need to wash it through the body. It's not all going to go, but your liver, your kidneys, you've got to protect yourself. And I've done a 7-day detox, but actual fact, I'm carrying it on to showcase that we need to do a bit more. I'm going to do mine for 6 weeks, folks. And
what type of detox? Fasting.
It's something I've devised myself, actually. And so it's simple. I need everything simple in my life. So it's basically herbal teas made from your own herbs. You don't have to grow them, but cardamom, and we do tea ceremonies that you actually sit down and you do your meditation and your journaling while you're drinking this herbal tea. We do juicing and smoothies and soups. So basically, no sugar, no wheat, no meat, no rice, coffee, no pasta, just those things. And obviously, everyone has to be accountable for their own health, which we keep going back to. Let's be accountable. I show people how to do a body scan, so you start being aware of your own body. You don't need a doctor to tell you. I was speaking to somebody the other day, actually, which I just found fascinating, that they've been for a regular check that you have to go for, your breast scan and things like that. And she was told that she had a lump. And she said, well, I didn't notice it. And she said, and to be honest, I couldn't feel it. Anyway, she's then gone to have it checked out, the consultant. And luckily, there was nothing there. Now, I'm not suggesting that people don't do this, but what I'm suggesting is be accountable for yourself. You will know if you've got a lump in any area of your body. You will know if you're not feeling great. This is where you need to be looking at. Body scan. You do it yourself. These machines are damaging.
We've become too reliant on that doctor. someone the other day, I was talking to them about the Milgram experiment. So that was something that I studied when I was doing psychology. And I found it so fascinating that someone in a white coat, or there was one that was done in a hospital, there was one that was done in a prison, but someone in a white coat you see as a source of authority, and you will do what they tell you to do. Sound familiar?
This would be brainwashed.
And we should trust our own bodies first, our bodies and the thoughts and feelings that we have about our bodies. And I am not for 1 second saying that medical intervention may not be required. And there is medical stuff out there that obviously does help you. But in the first instance, talk to yourself, because you will know. See how you physically feel. Are you lethargic? Have you got other stuff going on? Have you got lumps and bumps? Have you got rashes? Jackie's clearing all the rashes. So, but have you got other stuff going on? Have a holistic look and feel of where you're at, and then take those steps.
The thing is, Paula, over that period of time where everyone was locked down, and the media was pumping fear all the time, people. One thing that I learned over that period, and as I dug deeper on things and health, is that fear is probably the most damaging thing going. So which then gets me into Nikola Tesla.
Yes.
Understand the secrets of the universe. You have to understand energy, frequency, vibration.
Yes.
And I say this way because if I start shouting at you now, my energy transmits back via a frequency, hits you, and you vibrate. You're like that, aren't you? But if I start laughing, if I started a laughing club now and started, just screaming out the laughter, you feel good inside.
Singing, dancing, all that frequency.
Taking that energy.
So
the fear on the television, that's what kept us.
We kept that frequency. We kept
lowered. Can't see our family. You can't give hugs. It was genius plan. I'm sorry. It was absolute genius, and I admire them for the genius and the evilness of this plan. And those who don't believe in this, well, for me, it's so obvious, but it's not for many. And there's been so much research on fear. They say dis-ease. Your body goes into dis-ease. So I know many people that have passed, friends and family with disease, multiple sclerosis, cancer, and all these sort of things. But what's one common significance? Because I couldn't understand when one of my best friends died of breast cancer. There was a group of 5 of girls, and she was the one that didn't hardly drink. She never ever touched drugs in her life, and she walked. She was the slimmest. She was really careful with what she ate. She did sport. She's the one that got breast cancer. What was the difference between my friend Jill and the rest of our gang? I'll tell you what the difference was, that she was running on her nerves. She had a very unhappy marriage and was basically being controlled, and she was running on fear. That is the reason I believe she got cancer.
Jackie,
I believe it.
My brother died when I was 16, and the one thing that gave him extra time was holistics. When the medical authorities couldn't do anything anymore, my mum and dad took him to a herbalist in Wilmslaw. They wanted to detox the chemotherapy and radiotherapy first, and then they wanted to work on him. At the time, they said, "We wish you'd have come here," but if you think about it, everyone puts the trust in doctors and the medical side. But the one thing he gained probably about 6 to 8 months extra from when they said he was going to die. But the one thing that tipped it over the edge was stress of buying he was buying a little boat at the time, and that stress just brought it back on again, and that's ultimately what reared the cancer back up again. But so it is part of your well-being. But I just thought I'd show you these books as well. I don't know whether they're back backwards now.
No, I can read them
I'll,
front
yeah,
page. They're fine.
I'll have to show you these girls, because this guy is on about fasting, and it's just if you're into that side of things, the fasting that he discovers here is, he said he can stop the big C growing
Yes.
instantly.
Yes.
Now, this guy looks like it's something from 1920s or something like that. When is it published? That's published in 53, but they're quite interesting books.
Yeah. Will you put them in the link as well?
Yeah, well, you can borrow them and read them, and
yeah.
by all means, but
yeah, it is my belief that fasting, detoxing, can literally cure the big C, and it can certainly stop it. And because our body cannot grow cancer if it's in an alkaline state, it just cannot. And so our bodies, nearly all our bodies, even if we're doing detox, will still be in a bit of an acid state because of what's going on, the spring, the skies and everything. What we do for time, because I think we might need to go on to the next.
Just before you end that though, Jackie, Paula, it'd be interesting to introduce you to one of Lindsay's mates that cured herself, and I don't care whether people say that, but of leukemia and non-Hodgkin lymphoma.
Wow.
Naturally.
And did he do it in similar ways?
Apricot kernel seeds, all sorts of stuff.
Yes.
So probably 10, 12 years in remission now.
Wow.
So
right, we're going to have to book quite a few new podcasts, Andi, because there's a lot to talk about here.
I just love digging around.
This is fabulous.
We've not even covered anything on my list here. It's great.
Don't worry, you're coming on episode 8. We're coming back for episode 8.
Yeah, we'll have to touch base.
I think Paula, sorry, what did you say on
We'll have to touch base on other stuff, but we can leave that another time, can't we? Because it just goes on.
Absolutely. So for now, I think we've just covered so much. It's so interesting. You're such an interesting guy. I've known Andi really only about 3-4 years now, and I always go to Andi when I want some kind of support on these things, because I know he will know, because he's such a researcher and he puts the dots on I's. I'm a big picture girl, but he does the dots on I's, and I absolutely love that. Andi, you're a great guy, and we look forward to hearing more in episode 8. Paula, you got anything more to say?
Well, I'm gonna just wrap up here, and I'm going to ask you all to share our channel. I'm going to ask you to comment below if you've got questions. I'm going to drop our email in there. And some of the links that we've talked about today. But if you have something that you want to discuss with us, you want to come on and discuss these topics with us, come and give us a shout. But share this, because we're wanting to get it out there. So I'm just going to say goodbye, and I will see you on episode 8.
Bye, Paula.
Bye.